from the depth of my heart, I hope you do the same.
Yes, it's just that I don't have a Bible with me next to me, but I do swear that I will speak the truth and nothing else but the truth. And I will speak honesty at the best of my ability.
Thank you. So please give us a brief down of your history with churches. How did you grow up? Where are you based? Your understanding of Christianity before you went into cults and Satanism.
It's so funny enough on how I grew up. I grew up with my late grandmother. When my parents were in Venda, I was raised in Sishiro. My late grandmother, she was a mamsebeleti. She was a prophetess in a church that was called St. John Church. So I grew up from that background where a lot of people, they will flock to a house to come and collect bottles of water, which were meant to heal them. And I will witness people coming to her with chickens. And she will kill these chickens and they will take a bath with water mixed with chicken and some muti, or what they call siwasho, some ingredients, spiritual products. So that is how I grew up. I grew up in a Christian family because my father is a pastor. So I grew up from that setting, and also I had an encounter with spiritualism practiced by my grandmother at that time. The reason why I differentiate the two as Christian and spiritualism, it is because of, in my father's side, I had to go to church, I had to use the Bible to pray. But what I saw through the practice of my grandmother was something else. Even if they used the practice, showed that it is not just Christianity, but it is spiritualism, because they had to speak with angels, they had to speak with demons that were troubling people. So growing up from that environment at a very young age, I was very inquisitive. I wanted to know what is happening here. And I remember one day I narrated the story of what I have experienced when one lady came to my grandmother for a spiritual bath, because of she believed that things were not going all right in her life. So she came for a spiritual bath, and I witnessed the whole process. Where my grandfather took the chicken, slaughtered it, made some prayer with some candles there. Then I was taken out of the bathroom, and the woman, she was there bathing, talking, and I was by the door during that time. You know, as an author, or if you have a gift of writing, your memory is sharp. You see things as they were, and you can remember them as they were. So when I wrote my book, the first book called Church Mafia, I started from a point where I experienced those practices where people, they will talk as they are bathing, talking. It is like they speak that whatever their wishes, they speak their wishes out. So it is not prayer, because prayer, it is not speaking your wish out. Prayer is communicating with God. But the moment you start to speak wishes out, it's more of incantation. You are repeating things. You are sending words into the universe. And by repeating those things, you want to see the manifestation of those energy in those words. So this person was taking a bath in a room that had water. That's another energy, or it's another energy that we see. And also a candle that was on. It's fire. We see another element there. And as she was busy talking, in the midst of those two elements, you should understand that spiritualism or witchcraft, they use elements for them to have more power. So this person was doing this in a church setting, because she came to a prophetess so that a prophetess can do some work upon her for her to experience breakthrough. But when I grew up and I joined the occult, I started to realize that a lot of churches are using the very same elements that are used to manipulate, to control, have been used in the church. So I grew up, and when I narrated this to my mother decided and said, we are taking our child to come and grow in a good and a Christian environment. That was the time they took me away from my grandmother, and I stayed with them. And staying with them, I had to attend all night prayers. Staying with them, I had to learn how to pray. So the moment I was full time with my parents, I started going to the Sunday school. I started attending a youth. As I grew up in a Christian family, I believe that whatever that you ask of God through prayer, God will answer you. So at the age of 5, I remember the age of 5, I had an open vision where I saw a figure of a person pouring something like oil on my head. And when I explained that to my father, he said that is a sign to show that you are called. Now, they said if there is a calling upon your life, the calling will grow and everybody will witness the calling upon your life. And times when I was a teenager, I was not just like any other teenager. But there was a point in time where I had to make up my mind, and I became committed in my Christian journey with God. I accepted Jesus, not because my father was a pastor, but because I had this hunger and this zeal for the Lord. I raised my hand on a Sunday service as my father was preaching, and I went in front. I accepted Christ. From that day onward, I knew that I was a new person. Now, as time went, the calling started to manifest. I started to love preaching. I started to love reading the Word of God. And I started to have this joy of the Lord when I share about the goodness of the Lord. I went to, it was Pretoria Tech by then. I registered for human resource. I went there and I studied. Along the way, I felt, let me move out of this environment, look for a Bible college. I dropped out the following year. I did not go back to a technical in Pretoria. Now I went to the Bible college in Soshanguve, and that is where I studied a 3-year diploma. Now I was taught to become a community leader. As a pastor in the Bible college, they teach you how to become a community leader. They teach you how to preach. So I was trained as a professional pastor, not a fly-by-night. I stayed at the Bible college for 3 years. I graduated and I was ordained.
So you have that education and you've got the spirituality, right? The spirituality
Yes.
and the understanding. Now,
Yes.
fast forward. When did you decide to open a church?
Right. Immediately, I think it was on my 3rd year. On my 3rd year, it's just that I can't remember the date exactly, and I don't want to miss quote the date.
Yeah.
Yes. So when I was doing my 3rd year, I remember that was the first time I wrote my book. I wrote a book titled Taking Over as I was doing my 3rd year, and I felt this zeal of preaching. And I was so up to any challenge, because by that time we will move with crusades and tents. So I went to Pretoria in the CBD. I looked for a hall in the CBD, and I found a hall at Corner Church and Nelson Mandela. It was a school called Tanza by then. That's where our first church was. Now, when I started that church, I thought that people who come from the same place, township with me at home, they will be our members here. But to my surprise, I realized that when you are called, God will have to raise people who can identify themselves with the gift of God upon your life. So that is when I started the church. and the church was started on good foundation, good intentions. But the problem was that the church was not growing the way that I thought, the way that I wanted it to grow. The speed, it was not there of growth.
So how many people were in the church at the time?
I can't remember the exact number, but I think we were more than 100 plus, because we were attending in the afternoon. So these people, they will go to their churches in the morning, then in the afternoon they will come to our service. And they were not members yet. We talk about people who just walk in for a service. So the reason why I was saying that the church was not growing is the mentality I had. I thought that through preaching, the hall will be full. So I thought that through preaching and teaching the word of God, I will be able to see success at an early age of my life.
How old were you when you started the church?
Around 21, 22. 21,
what
22.
was the name of the church?
It was El Shaddai Tabernacle Center.
Repeat.
El Shaddai Tabernacle Center. Okay. El Shaddai Tabernacle Center.
Okay, so you realize that
but let me make this disclaimer. There are other churches that are using this name. So this is not a church that is associated with other churches that has similar names.
Okay. So you realize that the church is not growing with a congregation of about plus minus 100, 150 people, take or give, right?
Yes.
And then what was your next step? Because this church is not growing. You are preaching the word of God, and yet you're not fulfilled. What was that thing that said, okay, let me go find a different source of power to increase my congregation? Where did that idea come from?
Remember, when a pastor says, I have reached a point where I make a conclusion that the church is not growing, you make that decision after you have tried everything. You have tried evangelism, you have tried doing crusades, you have tried revivals, you have tried to invite popular speakers. Because sometimes we think that by inviting somebody who is popular, somebody who is famous, it will automatically make your church grow. So I did all those things, but after the event, I would still remain with few people. And there were other members of the church who came and said, you know what, Muruti, we feel that our time is up fellowshipping with you. We have to move out. Now, that thing broke my heart because I was connected with these people. I believe that my vision, my future is linked with these people. So once they come and say, Pastor, we think that our time is up in serving the Lord under your leadership, it broke my heart. And that is where I started to think and say, let me associate myself with those who are already successful. Successful in a sense that they are driving big cars. Successful in a sense that when they host their own crusade or services, they are followed by a huge number of people. Success in a sense that they had money. So I said, I cannot die in the wilderness alone. Let me be close to these people. So that is when I started to associate myself with those people who called themselves prophets.
So you're taught Christianity. Who taught you Satanism? So the things that you were able to practice now in the church to sort of lure people in, who indoctrinated you into that? Because now you're associated with these powerful people by perception. Now, yes. Where did you go exactly? Like, who did you go to and say, this is my struggle. This is what I want from your presence? Who did you go to?
I went to those who who portrayed the life that I was longing for. I saw them living my life and I was close to them. Then as I was close to them, I disclosed and said, I need to be like you. I need this power. We used to call it impartation, where you believe that somebody with their own hand, they can lay their hands on you and you will automatically have a particular spiritual gift. So I spoke to them. And when I spoke to them, they told me that what you are looking for, you cannot find it here. We have to take you to Nigeria for you to be initiated. They told me that after, remember, these people, they don't just open up. You have to build a relationship with them. And by building a relationship, you have to be close to them. And you have to show loyalty to them before they can open up their other side of life.
What type of loyalty is that?
When I talk about loyalty, it's in a sense that when they come for a church service or in a crusade, you organize women in the church for them to sleep with them. You organize, you become a middleman for them. You host them for a spiritual crusade, and while you have organized some women, singing women in the church, so that they can have a good time with them. So those are some of the ways to show that you are loyal to them by fulfilling their needs.
So you are a pastor in your own church, linked with other pastors in big churches who have this glamorous big lifestyle, right?
Correct.
With your faith, you go out and solicitate women for these pastors who are already established with big congregations, right?
Correct.
In your conscience, you don't remember the innocence of those children and young women in the church that you're going to prostitute to this big pastors.
What happens is that once you associate yourself with these people who have this, who are immoral, the way that you see things is no longer the way that it used to be. You become immoral also with you. So for you to do something that is wrong, you don't see it as being wrong. You just see it as normal because you are in a circle of people who are practicing that. Because before you can do that, they can organize it for you. They show you this lifestyle so that you can see that they are not just only pastors, but they've got this bad lifestyle that surrounds them. So after they have shown you what they do, now it is your turn to do it for them.
So they initiate you.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'm trying to really understand so that we get to the bottom of things, right?
Yes, sorry.
Did they now give you a specific age group of, okay, we want 16-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-olds? Is there a specific body type is that they want? How do they say, I want that specific girl? How does that conversation happen? Like, because they show you what they want, right? So when they ask of you to go collect these girls, what is the conversation? Because everybody has their own fetishes and they have their own body type, and what do they say to you that will make you understand what type of girl they will want?
In my experience, they don't describe. They don't sit down and give you a description of the kind of a girl that they look for. They target women who avail themselves to them. When a guest speaker is invited in a particular place, you find that there are women who shows interest to that particular person. So that is how they were able to take advantage from those particular people, whether it's young ladies, whether it's older ladies. So that's how the ball could roll.
Okay, that makes sense. So now you are in this social class with these people, right? You have given them what they want in terms of the girls and the lifestyle in the background, right? And
Yes.
they trust you.
Yes.
Now, going to Nigeria, who takes you there and how and with what finance? Are you taking money from the church? That is donations and umtelelo, or what do you call it? Offering. You take the offering money that is given to the church every Sunday to fly out to Nigeria. Where do you get the money to move from South Africa to a different country and stay there for initiation and come back? Where does that money come from?
Remember, what brings me to them was because of financial instability.
Yes.
That is the purpose of association. And once they start supplying you with money. You know, they show you the money. You start experiencing the good life when by being associated to them. You neglect your family. You start moving with them because these people, they don't stay in one place. They move around with what we call revivals. And as they move around with revival, that is where they practice this immoral lifestyle. So they are the ones who have money, but they don't give you money to go to Nigeria. They tell you and say, you have to raise money. We are taking you to a place where your life will change. So I had to raise money by myself. And after that, because I had a church, I had a small income. So I had to take all my savings. And I spoke a lie to my wife. I said, I am going for a pastoral conference. So by going to a pastoral conference, it was a way of me escaping to Nigeria with all the savings that I had. So I used all my savings because they told me that when I come back, I will be rich. They told me that I must buy, there is a bag that is called Ghana Must Go. It's a very big bag that usually you can put your clothes inside. It's a traditional bag, big one. In our South African lingo, we call it Machangani bag. That big one. Yes. So they call it Ghana Must Go. So they said I should buy that kind of a bag, 2 of them. As I'm going to Nigeria, they would also do what they call ritual money for me. So I took all my savings in my mind, thinking that where I am going to come back with a lot of money. And the first thing that I wanted to buy was tracts. Are you still there?
I'm still here. Your network is breaking a little bit. Yeah, okay. You're back. Let me check in the comment section if everybody can hear you properly. I'm just going to check the comment section if everybody can hear you. Guys, can you still hear us? Okay, Koki says they can still hear you.
Okay.
Okay, you may continue.
Yes, so I took all the savings and I went to this place in Nigeria. And they told me the place where we are taking you to, it's a place where a lot of people go to. Pastors, they go to. And you find your business people go to. You find your politicians go to. You find your chiefs, local traditional leaders, they go to such places. So they said that is a place where a lot of leaders, if you are a leader, musicians, they go to those places. Celebrities, they go to those places for only one purpose: power, fame, and control. So that is why they said, we are taking you to the place. We are not going to give you something to use and you go to South Africa. We are taking you to a place where you become a member of a secret society.
Okay, let's recap. They initiate you in South Africa in terms of lifestyle, right?
Yes,
then
that's correct.
You fly to Nigeria to get the spiritual initiation, where you are introduced to other big bowlers like celebrities, politicians, business people who are also seeking the same kind of power and influence that you're seeking in that initiation.
That's correct.
Now, aren't they scared of people exposing people's whereabouts? For an example, if I went to this thing that you went to, and I'm a writer, don't they give you an NDA? Do they really trust you that much that you won't speak about it in that moment? Because, I mean, you've got politicians, celebrities, business people, and all these high flyers, and you're in this place where you're all seeking this power.
Yes.
How are they able to confirm secrecy? That everything will be private and it's sacred in that space?
Okay. How they control the secrecy is through the access. They are not accessible. They are not seen. That's why they are secret society. They are not known. It's only through referral that can make you to meet them. It is only when you come through somebody who is a member of the cult. You cannot just come and knock and they open for you. There must be somebody who takes you by the hand, somebody who is loyal to the house, somebody who will speak on your behalf to the house, and he will take you by the hand, introduce you to them before they can welcome you. And secondly, they have to check your star. Usually they say that they check your star. They used a god that is called Ifa. Ifa is a god that they serve. They used this god and they asked my name, date of birth, and they were able to look at that particular thing to see if I am fit enough to be a member. So that is the process for them to be able to accept one. And once they have accepted you, that is where they will take you through the spiritual initiation. And it is not done by one person. It is done by a group of people, and they give you some rules. One of the rules is that you are not supposed to talk about this. One of the rules is that what happens here remains a secret. So, and the other rule was that you should be able to support the other brotherhood, because it is more of a spiritual family. You are now attached to these people's lives. So you should be able to be there for them whenever one brother in the family has a particular problem. Remember, these are different figures from different walks of life.
Okay. So what are the rituals that are done to initiate you when you're there? What are the rituals that are done to initiate you? Because I understand the secrecy part, which is the word of mouth, but what are the active physical things that are done to you when you're there?
The rituals that are done are animal sacrifice.
What type of
animal sacrifice? It's when you buy a cow or you buy a goat. But in my case, I bought a goat and a chicken so that they can use them to offer their blood as a sacrifice to the gods. Because whatever they say does not end there until it is sealed with the blood sacrifice on those altars. There are different altars. Now they took a goat, they slaughtered the goat, they mixed the blood of the goat with some herbs, and they smeared that blood on my body. I was half naked. On my lower part, I wrapped my lower part with a red cloth, and I was half naked. They smeared everything on my body, and they put a pot, a drum that was full of water, and on that drum they put fire, It was hot. The steam was coming out. They said I should test it. From then, they took me and they put me inside that drum because it was a huge drum. A person can get inside. So when they put me inside that drum, they said, we are now cooking you. This is where we cook politicians. This is where we cook armed robbers. Because during, in that place, even armed robbers, criminals, gangsters, they will go to that place to be strengthened so that bullets doesn't enter their body. So they said, we are going to cook you so that you can be strong. So my body could not feel the high temperature. The water was just normal, and I was there for some time. Then after that, they took me out, and everybody was just celebrating and saying, now you are strong, you are a strong man. So they took me to all different altars where I had to split those blood as I speak. By speaking, I mean I had to speak out things that I wanted to see happening in my life on those altars.
Okay. When you're doing this, how many people are in your presence in the room? Is it private, or there are other people who do the same thing and then you move on to the next, and then it's like you ushering each other? Is it just you alone, or there's a group of people who are going through the same thing at the same time?
It is not, you don't do these things in the room because the house is far in the village, in a high dense village where there are bushes outside. So you just do it at the back of the house, which is bushes. So you just do all those things. The bathing is done there outside. And there are a lot of people, because of a lot of people, they believe in witchcraft in that particular area where I was. So there were a lot of old women, there were a lot of old men, and even young people, because they are used to this thing. As pastors come in, pastors come out asking for power, including business people. So it was not the first instant with me. It was something which everybody's used to.
Okay. So you've done the initiation. How long does it take? What do you do? How long are you there? 7 days, 3 days?
If I remember very well, it was plus minus 3 days. Because I went there, I think, I went to Nigeria more than 5 times. I was even thinking of getting a dual citizenship that side, just because of this cult thing. Because they said every month or every 3 months, you have to come that side. So at first, you go there, and by going there, that is when they tell you things that you should come with. They show you this miracle money or ritual money. And by ritual money, I mean where they just take a drum and they put the drum there, they close it with a white cloth, and they tell you to lock the room. Nobody is there in the room. It is you and the drum. And they say, lock the room, be outside on the door, and you stay there with the key, and they tell you, go back again. When you open, when you see that drum is full of cash, full of money, US dollar. I saw it. So that is how they tell you, go and bring money to come and do sacrifice. Because of the money to buy this power, you can't afford. But go and bring money so that you can do the sacrifice and make the ancestors happy. So on the initiation days, I think I stayed for about 3 days in that house compound.
Are you eating? Are you sleeping? What are you guys doing throughout the day?
Throughout the day, we sit, we eat. I mean, I was meant to buy a goat. So the meat from the goat is the one that they slaughter. We eat, and after eating, we'll wait for other cult members to come, because every cult member has to be there. They have to make a circle. You have to be at the center of the circle. Each one should release their blessing upon you. You have to wait for all these cult leaders. Some are owning saloons, some are owning businesses. So you have to wait for them to move out of their business to come and be part of the ceremony.
Okay, so you are initiated, you come back to South Africa the first time, you feel strong, you feel like, okay, things are going to go great with the church. What are the things that you had to do when you arrived at the church in terms of sacrifices and altars? What did you put on your altar? Did you have to go pray now at night consistently? Did you have to now bath with this water? What animals did you use? Because there's a part where you speak about a pig a pig or an animal that you sort of bury in the area where the church is, and it sort of rots, and when it rots there are maggots that come out, and then that is a sign that more people will come. Can you just explain the process of now you introducing these spirits that you got in a different country to this new church, when now South Africans are supposed to come and worship in that space that you have that you have sort of gathered these spirits from another place and you have put them in this church? Now, what is the process there?
When I came back, they gave me several powers, several things to use. One of them, as you have said, it was the head of a pig. They asked me a question and said, where you are you the leader of the church? As in, are you the founder of the church? Are you a decision maker in the church? Then I told them, yes, this is an independent ministry. I started this church. So they were able to give me something that I should bury there. And that thing that they gave me is the head of a pig that will work, number one, on attracting crowd. As it decays, the worms that comes out of it will be the number of people who will be attracted to your church. So I buried it there. I had to bury it in the midnight at night, and I had to speak to it. And by speaking is declaring my wishes upon the grave where I have buried this head of a pig. Now what happened is that after I did that, I went home. I had to take a bath. You know, you take a bath outside, not inside the house, but outside where water should just move away. You just sprinkle yourself with that water. Water must just run. Now, I took a bath. It was on a Saturday. I took a bath. I slept. Went to church the following day. I could not see the result that immediate. But as time went on, I think around a month or two, that is where I started to see things happening. A lot of people were coming, flocking to church. People, they will testify and say, I come 50 kilometers away from your place. I just came. I felt something pulling me to this church. So I knew that people were attracted by what was buried inside. And they said this was just a test. Once I like what they have buried in the church, then they will go to an upgrade. These people, they don't just give you the full power. They start with you with something small. Once you agree with it, then that is where you keep on upgrading.
Okay, so they gave you this power and you've got this pig that you have sort of planted in the garden behind the church, somewhere in the area where the church is, right?
It's planted inside the church, not in the churchyard. Inside where Christians worship. Inside. It should be planted inside. Yes, where people worship, where people sing songs to God, where they lift their hands up. It should be planted right inside there.
Okay, that's one example. So you've got the ability now to attract, right?
Yes.
But now in terms of your body, what are you feeding your body? Because I get it, to maintain this thing, are you having sex with young people? Are you not having sex at all? Are you using muti at this present time? How often are you using it? What things are you doing in the process leading up to these moments where now there's a lot of people coming to visit? There's a lot of what's happening to you physically that that makes you want to feed this thing that you have brought, or this muti that you have brought? Like, I want to know the physical process, because with the other guys, I get it, for them it's entertainment. What are your requirements when you are busy with this thing?
There are different kind of powers that are offered to one. You choose which one you want to use. There are people who can choose their body as a sacrifice. Like, if you choose that you won't be able to have intercourse with a woman. And there are people who choose a body sacrifice that they won't sleep with women, but they will sleep with the same sex. That's what they do. They are not homosexual, but they do this as a ritual, because they have chosen their body as an instrument of sacrifice. And there are people who choose their body as a sacrifice, that they will sleep with young people, virgins. Others, they choose a body sacrifice that they will sleep with young people, molesting young people. So I did not choose that, because the house where I went, they used the blood sacrifice. There are others, they choose how many years they will live, and they
hold on. Sure. What do you mean others choose how many years they will live? How do you choose life? Like the time frame of life. How do you choose them?
You know what happened? That ritual, they explained to me. And they said, if you want to take this one, you can take it. Now I asked them, how does it happen? They take, millimil. And they throw it down. And they take a chicken to come and eat. If a chicken can eat the number of what the chicken will eat there, it will be the number of the years you will live. But you will be extremely successful. You will be too much rich. But you will also know that you are living on a borrowed time, because you will know, once you come out there, you come out knowing how many years that you will live in this world. Because of they put millimil and a chicken, you know that a chicken can eat the whole day as it goes down. But this kind of a chicken can pick about 20 or can pick about 5, then it stops eating. Then they sacrifice that chicken. Then after sacrificing that chicken, they cook it. Then you have to eat and finish without breaking the bones of that chicken. You eat the flesh without breaking any bones, and they will take muti. You eat the chicken mixed with muti, but you don't break bones. You don't chow the bones. They will take those bones and bury it somewhere in that premises, the traditional doctor's place, the occultic house place. That is where your grave is, because of you have acquired a spirit to give you wealth, but it will give you wealth on a particular borrowed time. So there's also the one that I chose, the one for blood sacrifice.
Okay, hold on. I just want to understand this specific one. I'm going to come to yours now, because I really want clarity. Okay, this chicken eats, and let's say it eats 4 times. Is that 40 years or 4 years?
It's 4 years.
It's 4 years from the day it starts eating. So from that moment, you start counting your time.
From that moment, they give you the powers. The full initiation is done. You know that you've got 4 years to live.
In that 4 years, you will become extremely wealthy and powerful, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
In whatever field of business or whatever industry you are in, right?
Anything you touch is successful.
Okay. Yes. So this now brings me to this question, and I know I'm digressing a little bit, but I just want to understand this concept of time. You are given those years, you live the way you want to live. What rules and regulations do they give you? Because you've got 4 years, for an example, to live. What must happen in that time? What are the rules for that time?
Once they've given you the 4 years, you leave it in anyhow that you want. Personally, if you want to do business, you can do business. But along that 4 years, you should be able to sacrifice, not only sacrificing by killing people, but sacrificing by destroying people or taking people's stars away or somebody's luck away. Through intercourse, you should have a lot of, and you don't just sleep with anybody. You want people who are bright, people who've got a good, how can I put it?
Aura.
You want
aura. People have a good aura.
Yeah, aura, yes. Yes, yeah. You want those kind of people. So those are the people that you should make sure that you keep on sleeping with them. And by sleeping with them, you'll be destroying their life and you'll remain more powerful for that 4 years.
So that is the source of maintaining the power. Is that the only way they maintain the power with sleeping? Is it really the only way? Can they choose a different way?
The different way it will be doing the sacrifice, the blood sacrifice, where you have to make sure that you appease these gods by slaughtering. And the blood also grows. But along the way, as you know that demons are attracted to where sin is. Even if you do the blood sacrifice, you still find yourself cheating in your family. You still find yourself having affairs. But those are not affairs for sacrifices. Those are just affairs because you are immoral now. You have allowed sin to control your life. But the ones that are more of a sacrifice, the sexual sacrifice, it is when you find one man sleeping with about 7 people in one day without any relationship with those people. You can call it a one-night stand where they do it once and they are gone. They're finished with you.
But now this does not also take away, but please correct me because I'm learning, yes. Right? Does now, okay, for an example, when a powerful person has 4 girlfriends and he's sleeping with those 4 girlfriends, regardless of the time, the place, and they just have multiple, in their spirit, they know they're sacrificing who, right? Because sometimes they fall in love with the one girl, right? But in their spirit, they know that there are 2 or 3 or 4 who are initial sacrifices, right?
Yes. Okay, let me explain. Here's a man who have, let's say, 4 girlfriends. Among the 4, there will be one which the gods allows them to be a permanent girlfriend or somebody that before they can go for a tender, they have to sleep with this person. Before they can go to present something, they have to sleep with this person. It is not every girl. There are those that they know and say, this one will be used for this particular, what you call, sacrifice. Yeah, ritual. So we've got women who are not aware that their role in that affair is to be used for a spiritual ritual.
Okay, I'm going to come back to this topic because my hair is rising. I'm going to come back to it. What was the spiritual power or the spiritual demon did you choose? Because other people are choosing sleeping, other people are sleeping with... Oh, one more question before we digress, actually. Is there a ritual or a sacrifice where you need to now sleep with animals, like a process of bestiality, where maybe you sleep with a dog, a cat, a snake, a what? Were there people who were choosing such sacrifices?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. Yes.
Yeah, because the correct term is bestiality. Having the ability to sleep with animals, whether it's for pleasure or for sacrifice.
For sacrifice, yes.
Okay, so you didn't choose any of those, right? You chose a different path. So which one did you choose?
I chose for animal sacrifice, where I was able to slaughter the blood of the goats and the blood of the chicken. That was the initial stage, because as the more you do the sacrifice, it is the more the spirits will grow and start demanding more from you. So I was at that initial stage.
Okay, so you've done all of these things now. You are back. The church is growing. Were you sleeping with young girls to maintain your ritual practices?
I
young
was
girls
not sleeping.
Or boys? How were you feeding your demon?
I was not sleeping with young girls or young boys for.
You're breaking. Guys, is it my network or whose network? Is it mine or his? His network is breaking. Because I can't hear him anymore. I can't hear him anymore. His network is breaking. His network is breaking. Guys, can I just take a minute? I just want to save this live so that I don't lose it, because it's like the network is tampering with us. So I'm going to go and save it. Just give me 2 minutes and then I'll be back again. I think it's his network as well. So I'm just going to give him a call and then come back with the conversation.